I absolutely loved manufacturing. There's something quite satisfying about watching trucks leave your dock full of material that you made, taking something physical and increasing the value of it.
The following is a Big Sky Economic Development production.
Welcome to The Vault, a Montana-based business podcast where we highlight the people and ideas driving our region forward. I'm your host, Marcel Bruschi.
You're listening to The Vault.
So today, joining us on The Vault, I'm really excited for this one. You've been on my list. Christina Henderson tagged you too on LinkedIn, which was fun. But today we have Paddy Fleming with the Montana Manufacturers Extension Center, or as we call you, MMEC. So Paddy, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's fun to actually get to sit down with you and hear a little bit about your story. And I want to get into MMEC, but before we do that, I want to learn about you, where you grew up. What was that like? All of it.
Well, I mostly grew up in a little town called Charlotte, Montana. And it is on the Flathead Reservation, close to the National Bison Range, which is now the Salish Kootenai Bison Range,
Wow, and we're recording up in Polson, so kind of close to home.
Yeah, about 20 miles south of here.
Yeah, what was that like growing up? Because a little town, little town.
Yeah, but I grew up on a small farm and ranch about 5 miles out of town, so lots of farm work.
Yeah, did you enjoy it?
Yeah. Good people and good to experience agriculture, good to be able to play sports. And there were 18 people in my graduating class.
Oh, so small.
Almost like Ikalaka.
I know, almost like I had half that, so 9. But what kind of sports were you into? Did you like doing?
I was good at football, so I played football. I attempted to play basketball, but I was basically your 20-point man. So That means if we were 20 points up or 20 points down, I got to go in.
Got it. Oh, okay. I was like, do you mean like you were like the one scoring all of that? Okay, got it. Okay.
And I tried track, but that's the only 3 sports we had.
Just the only 3, yeah. That's basically what we had to. And volleyball, I guess, but yeah, not for guys. So what you were doing sports, you were like ranch farm work. Were there things that, like, besides those things that at that time you were, like, interested in, curious about?
Engineering.
What about it?
I liked working on cars, fixing things. So, and I have 2 grandfathers that were engineers. So
Cool. What kind of engineers were they?
One grandfather was an engineer on Fort Peck Dam. Wow. So civil. And the other one was an engineer at the lumber mill outside of Missoula at Bonner.
Wow. Wow. So what'd you do after high school?
I went to Montana State University and studied mechanical engineering.
What was that MSU experience like?
Very good. Very good school. Made lots of great friends. So,
any fun MSU stories that are shareable?
Probably not shareable.
Not shareable. Not on the podcast.
Right.
We're not sharing on the podcast.
Right.
But I mean, you're there now. So like, what has been that transformation from when you went to MSU? And did you go just because they had the engineering program and you're like, I want to stay in state?
At the time, there weren't many jobs in Montana. The unemployment rate was about 8 to 9% in Montana, and not much manufacturing going on. So when we all went to college, in engineering, we just assumed we would be out of state. I originally was going to go to University of Washington to study aeronautical engineering, but then I figured I couldn't afford it. So that's when I went to MSU. Glad I did. So just assumed I was going to have to go out of state. Most of my classmates went to Boeing and 3M and Raytheon. And so when I graduated, I had an offer at Boeing and
in Seattle,
in Seattle, and 2 in oil well services.
Wow.
So, but I chose for a machinery manufacturer for the paper industry in Wisconsin.
So then you moved.
Yeah.
And you had lived in Montana your whole life, because you grew up here, went to MSU, graduated, and then you ventured out.
Yeah, so I worked for this company for 2.5 years doing 100% travel.
Okay.
Worked all over the United States, Europe, Mexico, Canada.
What were you doing?
Installing machinery in paper mills.
Wow. Okay.
And troubleshooting it. And so got tired of the travel. And one of my customers was International Paper. So I took a job with International Paper, and they, as a plant engineer, and they put me in Mount Carmel, Pennsylvania, which was a very depressed, abandoned coal mine.
Okay. Just the town. Like, what was the size comparatively?
Oh, it'd be about the size of Polson.
Okay.
There wasn't a McDonald's there. I can remember that. I think I was the only single person in the town with a college degree. So then I got tired of the little town, so I left International Paper to go to a company in Philadelphia that made feminine hygiene products.
Okay. What drew you to that job, and like even to Philly, like because you're out there and you're a Montana kid, but you're kind of out doing other things.
They recruited me hard, and wanted to get out of that little depressed coal mining town. So I only lost, and while I was in International Paper in Mount Carmel, they had moved me into management. So I was doing management. So went to the company in Philadelphia, hated it so badly, and International Paper wanted me back. So they recruited me back, but they recruited me to Chicago.
Okay. Were you happy about that location?
Yeah. So
I'm guessing you had a little bit of a say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So enjoyed Chicago for a few years. They also then had me become a corporate engineer. So I traveled out of Chicago to the other International Paper plants to help them out. And then while I was there in Chicago, I got my MBA.
Wow.
And then International Paper wanted me to go to El Paso, Texas. And I wasn't done with my MBA, so I said I'm not going to go until my MBA's finished, that they were paying for.
Mm-hmm.
And they struck a deal. So for the first year I was in El Paso, I flew back to Chicago once a week to go to class.
Wow. Because they really wanted to keep you.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah. So then was in El Paso for a couple years. Didn't like living in the desert.
Yeah.
So
you're a mountain kid by heart, so no, you didn't.
Yeah, and I like trees.
Yeah.
There
Probably
were
not a lot there.
None. So then we went to Tenneco, started recruiting me, and they wanted me to go first to China.
And what's that company?
Tenneco.
For those listening, including myself, that don't know what that is.
At the time, they were doing paper products, corrugated boxes. So they wanted me to go run a plant in China, and the deal was they would move me back to Montana, and I would spend 6 weeks in China, 2 weeks back in Montana constantly. So I agreed to that, and then about a couple weeks later, they called me and said, "No, you're not going to send you to China. We're going to send you to Romania to run a lumber mill." So I agreed to that.
Wow. And
then when I showed up, the corporate headquarters for Tenneco was in Chicago. I showed up at the corporate headquarters for my first day, and they said, "Nope, you're not going over there. We're going to have you run a plant on the south side of Chicago." So
back to where you were.
Yeah. So I was back in Chicago, and then finally, and the whole time I was always trying to find a way to get home and get west at least.
And what were like, you have this really unique experience in these companies. They're like, we want to keep you and we'll do whatever to keep you. What were some of those things you learned? Because you said you were working like corporate engineer and then management. Like, what were some of those bigger like life lessons that have stuck with you, good and bad, from those companies?
The biggest one I learned was the general manager is the top manager in a facility, and underneath that's finance and sales and manufacturing. And my boss, the general manager, I was in charge of manufacturing at the time, and he asked me where I saw myself in 5 years. I said, in your seat. Mm-hmm. And he said, "Well, I can tell you this, it's not going to happen until you can prove to me that you can be out of this plant for 1 month and there will be no hiccups," which was very enlightening to me, that I think so many of us tend to want to make sure that everybody knows we're indispensable and were constantly needed because you're the only one that knows how to do this one thing. But basically, he was telling me that I needed to set up my operation to the point where it ran without me, and then I could be promoted. So.
And so were you like, yep, great, got it.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell us about it.
So, well, then.
Yeah, because he's like, you got to do that. Like, what did you do to get to that point?
Well, you got to start training and delegating to your people, putting in systems that automatically make decisions or help you make a decision, and you push the decision making down to the folks. Let them do the job. Let them make decisions. Train them how to do the decisions.
And how did you know how to do that?
I guess learning from the others I worked with over the years. So I was gone from Montana for 11 years.
Wow. So you're at these, what brought you back? So you're in Chicago, you're managing a plant. Did you have in those ones like up to that point that like industry facilities that you like out of those that you really enjoyed? Or was it like the process of all of it that you just enjoyed at the different companies?
I absolutely loved manufacturing. There's something quite satisfying about watching trucks leave your dock full of material that you made. I can still remember that, being so proud that we got to the point in Chicago, I think in the plant I was running in Chicago, that 40 semi-loads a day of
That's a lot.
Of corrugated boxes would leave our facility. 40 semis a day. Yeah.
And how many like of these plants, just because it's a little, like those are large scale, right? Like paper, doing all of that. Like how many employees are there?
100 to 150.
Oh, wow. So not like thousands.
Yeah. And we ran 3 shifts a day.
Wow. 7 days or 5?
5. But we usually ran overtime on Saturday. But we were constantly automating where we could to reduce our labor.
And when you're automating in those situations, just as technology's coming in, like how are you finding out about some of those like newer automations and newer things? Like are there people coming and selling those products to you, or what does that look like?
Well, since I was with International Paper, which was the largest in that industry, they came to us. They were constantly trying to sell us. If you're in a very small niche, there's not somebody already making machinery for you. So that's the tough part, is trying to get a piece of machinery made for just you. Whereas in these cases, they were selling them to all our competitors as well.
And were they coming, because I think of some of the manufacturers that we have in Billings, and some of their big equipment comes from like Japan or Germany. Was that where they were coming from for what you guys were doing, or were they more United States?
Mostly from the United States. So, in fact, the first company I worked for that made machinery, we bought from them.
Oh, cool.
So that's how I knew them. But also, we were very interested in keeping our machinery consistent, the electronics on them. We had a certain brand of electronics we wanted used on every piece of machinery, so that our maintenance staff didn't have to learn new stuff, and everything was different from plant to plant. I remember one machinery manufacturer from Italy, they wanted to sell to us, and we liked their machinery, but they were using a foreign electronics. So we convinced them to set up an operation in the United States where the machine would be shipped over without any electronics on it, and then put U.S. electronics on it.
Do they still operate today?
Yeah, Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Wow. Okay. So you're in Chicago. So tell us what that looked like. Did you get everyone where they needed to be in that month?
I did. So now I'm the general manager in Chicago. I've got the biggest plant for Tenneco in the nation. Increased the profitability significantly for the plant, increased the throughput. So the company was quite happy with me and my efforts.
And you're managing everybody?
Yeah.
Or like you're managing people that then...
Yeah, I had full P&L responsibility. So I had to report to corporate every month on my earnings. But I also realized that my only next step was to go to corporate. And I really didn't like corporate.
Why don't you like corporate?
Well, it's usually a big building with and everybody wears a suit, and they complain about what's being done in all the plants across the world. So then they go out and and yell at the plants for, you got to produce more, you got to make more money. So also, at this time, I found the job offering from Montana Manufacturing Extension
Okay.
at MSU.
Were you so you kind of mentioned like you've always wanted to come back, like you
Yeah.
wanted to come back. So you were just kind of watching the job market in
Yeah.
Montana.
So I thought it was a severe cut in pay,
Yeah. I would
40%.
imagine. Wow. Okay.
So,
We remember.
yes. And so when I told my boss at corporate, he flew in, spent 3 days trying to convince me how stupid I would be to derail my career.
Because they really liked you.
Yeah.
All these people are like, Patty, Patty, Patty. Okay.
Yeah. So he had pretty much had me convinced that it was a dumb move to accept a job from MMEC for a 40% cut in pay. But that night, my plant was an hour south of Chicago, and I lived in downtown Chicago. And that night, a snowstorm hit Chicago at 4:30. So the snowplows didn't get out before the traffic jams started. So I made it all the way to 1 mile from my house and got stuck in a traffic jam in the snowstorm for 4 hours that night.
Wow.
So the next morning I called up MMEC and I said I'd be more than happy to take that 40% cut in pay. So,
Like, I'm done. I'm out.
yes,
Did you like living downtown Chicago?
I did
when you
very much. I was single too.
Yeah. Like, what were you doing on the week? Like, what was it like to live downtown Chicago?
Always eating in restaurants, going out to see bands. Chicago's amazing with blues and jazz, and the architecture is amazing, and food in Chicago is amazing. So there's plenty to do.
Yeah. It's a fun city.
Yeah.
Do you go back?
Occasionally, I get to missing the food and the blues, but it only takes about 1 hour of being off that plane in Chicago to realize, oh yes, now I remember why I live in Montana.
So you called them, and were they like, great?
Yeah.
Can you start tomorrow? Or like, what was that transition like coming back?
Don't remember a lot of the details. Must have moved myself back. And my first part for MMEC was to be the business advisor for Northwest Montana.
Okay.
So I was located in Kalispell.
So kind of back to where you grew up.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Well,
I mean,
close
ish.
enough. Yeah.
Yeah. And then what was the transition? So you're back.
Yeah. I remember, so at the time I spent a lot of time riding a motorcycle. So when I lived back east, I would always take my vacation and ride my motorcycle back to Montana.
Oh, wow.
And
What kind of motorcycle?
a Harley.
Oh, of course. Okay.
And so that was my vacations where I took my Harley and went back to Montana.
Did you stop through Sturgis during rally?
Yeah.
Fun. Okay. I was like, just making sure. I'm like, so is this August-ish type frame? Just wondering.
But once was enough for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, when I was working for MMEC, I had to go see a client in Browning on a beautiful summer day. And I took my Harley, and I'm riding through Glacier Park on my Harley, and it hit me that I'm actually being paid to do this.
I'm being paid to drive this road. Wow.
And for the last 10 years, I had spent my vacation and my money to do that. So
Wow.
it was good to be home.
And then you started advising clients.
Yes.
What was that like for those listening that maybe aren't as familiar with MMEC? So you started as an advisor, and what kind of role do they have?
So my job was to make contact with all the manufacturers in the area, find out what their issues are, and offer my assistance. So a couple of my first big clients were Semi-Tool, which is now Applied Materials.
Okay.
Columbia Falls Aluminum, which has since shut down. So I implemented quality management systems into both those facilities.
And what do you mean by quality management systems?
Well, in manufacturing, there's a quality management international standard for quality management called ISO 9001. It's not required by any agency or anything like that, but it's used a lot in international trade or within supply chain. So if you're going to buy something from Cambodia and you're not sure about this company you're going to buy it from, if they can show you they've got an ISO 9001 certification, then you feel better about purchasing it.
Mm-hmm.
And then some companies will say, like Boeing will say, if you're going to supply us parts, you must be at this certification level. So,
And how do you get certified to do that?
well, it's first you have to implement everything, and there's a international or a board of registrars. So you can't be both the person that helps them get it and the person that audits them. So we do the part where we help them get ready, prepare them for the audit, and sometimes it'll take anywhere from 6 months to 2 years.
Wow.
So we get them up to that part, run through practice audits with them, and then they call in a registrar, and that usually costs them about $30,000.
Wow.
And they come in and try to find something wrong, and and if they don't, they give them a certification, and I think they have to renew it every 2 years.
For 30, how much is it every 2 years?
Probably $30,000.
And so how early, like, in a company's life are they getting this? Like, should they get it out of the gate if they're manufacturing, or is it something they get later?
Well, there's a lot of schools of thought on that. You know, if you're being required by your customer to do it, you got to do it when they say to do it. We kind of preach that it's also a good way to manage your business. So it puts practices in place that you should be doing. So sometimes we find companies the salesman will come to them and say, I think I just lost a sale because we're not ISO certified and my competitor was. And so it's being driven by the salesman because they want to have a little logo on their business card saying more sales. So we tell them not to do it for that reason. And if you got to do it for your client, yes. But if you just want the sticker or the plaque, that's not the reason to do it. But if you really want to run your business properly, that's a way to do it. And it requires that it comes from the top down. So it's not like it can be assigned to somebody. And
Yeah.
you're now in charge of this. So the head honcho has to be all involved. And then you have to be able to prove that.
And keep it.
Yeah. And your question about how soon, well, basically you're documenting every procedure. You're setting in place procedures like, what do we do when a client complains? How do we keep track of that? You prove that you can continuously improve it. Prove that you are continuously improving every part of your product. So we really when on the size, obviously the fewer the employees and the smaller your company is, probably the easier it is to do the certification then. But when you're only a couple people, it also takes a lot of time from one person. So, you know, putting one person of a company of two on this project full time can really derail the.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we come in, is we'll take over that.
So you come in as your team and you guys will help, like, a manufacturer put all these steps into place. So it's like not a daunting, like, what do we have to do? Like, you guys are like, it's fine, we can help you.
And we don't just do quality management systems. We do lean manufacturing systems as well. We basically will help a company with any issue they have. We feel confident that if we don't have the expertise on staff to address this problem that the company's having, we know somebody that does.
Yeah. And let's get into lean and then we'll get back. But like lean, you mentioned lean manufacturing. What does that mean for those that aren't in manufacturing?
Well, it actually is based on the Toyota production system that was developed using an American in Japan after World War II when they had to recover from the war. By that time, the U.S. manufacturing industry was pretty proud of themselves for their war efforts, and they didn't need any advice from these pre-war people. So Japan was anxious to take all the advice. So they developed the Toyota production system, and probably in the 80s, U.S. manufacturers started getting interested in it because they were losing ground to the Japanese. And so it's really become the standard. You analyze every process. You look for, is this action that we just took in this process, was that something that the client wants to pay for? And if not, then it's considered waste. So we need to figure out ways to eliminate that waste. So a great example is, how many times do you move the product with a forklift? Well, that costs money to move it every time, and the customer isn't going to pay you based on on your product because you pay you extra because you had to move it 20 times with the forklift. So let's figure out a way to not move it with the forklift. It's just doing things smarter, more efficient. The big thing is we're not asking anybody to work any harder. We're asking them to work smarter. So
I feel like when we toured Woods and Billing, or Laurel, Woods Power Group, I feel like they're like a good example of that too.
They are.
But like, don't they, feel like they make their own boxes too.
They do, and that's a lean concept. So Woods Power Grip has been a valued client and partner of ours for 24 years, I think.
Wow.
They so in corrugated boxes, which that was the industry I was in, it's very tough for smaller company like Woods, where they got many different products, and the corrugated producers are set up to run truckloads at a time. So Woods
40 truckloads sometimes, right?
Yeah, most of our clients was minimum one truck. So Woods doesn't need a truck a day, and if they've got 12 different products, that's 12 different trucks. So, and then it costs you to store it. You got to have enough space in your building, which costs you money to store it. So there's a new method out there where they call it fan fold, but it's a very long folded sheet of corrugated and a machine that cuts out one box for you for every time you need to ship something. So,
and then there's the machine that comes in too, that's like, then it does it for you, so it's not someone doing it, so just like
folds them up. Tapes the bottom.
And I'm assuming like these were all things you were doing when you were working in different facilities across the US, so you're very you're like, we've done that.
Yes.
And with lean, so is that something that evolves over time, all of the time, or is it like one and done, or is it something like companies are constantly?
It's basically it's the continuous improvement process. And with continuous improvement, you are never done. So it never ends. You're always looking for some new improvement that you could do to the process to try to get rid of some waste. So a lot of the new automation that we see today is really helping with that. That box maker that you talked about at Woods is a fantastic example of using automation to help you get rid of waste. Even automated delivery devices, carts that automatically come and deliver you a part. And what we find with automation too, this goes back all the way to the Luddites, which was back when weaving looms were created, and the Luddites were people that were against that because that was going to take away jobs. So there's always been a fear of automation that it takes away jobs. But in Montana, we find that we are so far behind in automation that we still have companies that expect an employee to stack 50-pound bags of something on a pallet all day long. So also, if you look at those, that's where you have your highest turnover. It's also where you have your highest back injuries. So, and I think you'd be hard pressed to find somebody that says, I love doing that.
Yeah, no.
So you can buy a robot to do it for $50,000. Now, if you're running 3 shifts a day,
salaries, benefits,
you're paying at least $150 in salary and benefits. And you could replace that with a $50,000 machine.
Well, I think didn't the hemp place in Fort Benton do that? Like they got that, they call it the Bumblebee, that now it lifts things so that they don't have, and then that staff can go do something else.
Yes. And a lot of automation today, including AI, is going to be taking out not jobs, but unpleasant tasks.
So where do you see that? Because I think that is a topic, right? Like automation's kind of scary. Montana is a little bit more behind others, but what is that on like the workforce side, the employer side of you're getting these machines in. Now, what do you do with some of these team members? Like, what are you seeing happening?
Oh, they're always repurposing them. There's a constant shortage of labor. So they're always, I know of nobody in the state that's been let go because their job got automated. Sometimes you then take that person and you train them on how to monitor the robot. So their job is, instead of stacking the bags all day, they might be doing some quality checks and constantly monitoring the robot and maybe reprogramming the robot occasionally.
Yeah.
So
we were with Jim Markle from Red Ox, who speaks very highly of you guys. Like, he adores MMEC, and he's probably been a long-term client too.
Yes.
But they just got that new equipment, that piece of equipment that you guys helped them get, but it like cuts fabric and puts in like all these weird little lines that they need, and it really removes the human error of cutting fabric. Not that a human means to, but like if you slice it a little wrong, then that whole sheet's not really usable. Where this thing will use every little piece that it can of the fabric, and then the employee now gets to really learn a new skill and run that piece of equipment that's not cheap.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's a win-win for everybody. And financially for our clients, when they do we help them a lot do the financial justification for buying it. And when you do the financial justification on these things, it's just shocking to see the numbers. From my days at corporate, we'd constantly submit projects to corporate for funding for new machines, and we had to have a minimum of a 20% return on investment.
Wow.
Before they'd even consider it. Now, the ones we're doing for automation, we're seeing 200, 300% ROI. They're paying it back in a couple months instead of 3 years.
Which is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're fun places. I mean, you guys are in these like manufacturing centers all the time, but they're cool companies to go and tour. I really enjoy them. So
now another issue we're starting to see in Montana is that a company might have gotten their first robot, but they're a little scared of the technology there, and maybe they don't have a maintenance staff. So we did get a grant from the Department of Energy recently to develop an apprenticeship for a smart manufacturing technician. And smart manufacturing is another term for automation, and that's also known as Industry 4.0. So, and also we're doing a 1-year certificate for smart manufacturing technician at Highlands College in Butte.
Oh, cool. Which is a good career option for really someone wanting maybe a different skill set, or someone coming out of school.
Yeah, and the younger kids that are very computer savvy. Yeah. To be able to maintain and adjust and operate all these highly automated pieces of equipment. Probably a little more enticing than stacking 50-pound bags on a pallet.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. And they can be in that job, and there's more growth opportunity than stacking.
Yes.
And hurting their back. So you were in Kalispell. You were an advisor.
Yep.
When did that role switch? Because that's not your role now.
No. There's a little bit of complication here. So
get into it.
Yeah.
As much as you want to share.
I got recruited by the Missoula County Airport.
Okay.
To be... I think I was called the director of growth or something. So my job was to diversify the revenue coming into the airport. So one of the projects I did was I built a hangar for the Forest Service smoke jumpers.
Wow.
And then leased it back to the Forest Service for 30 years, but kind of answered to a board. Did not like that industry at all. Mm-hmm. So went back to my true love, which was manufacturing, and one of my clients in Kalispell hired me to be their general manager. So I worked there for a couple years because my job had already been filled.
Yeah, I bet it had.
So a couple years later, 2006, the MMEC had started another group called Miltech.
Okay, yeah. And Postman,
yeah.
Right?
So Miltech was kind of trying to do the same thing we were doing, but instead of the customer being a manufacturer, the customer was the Department of Defense. Mm-hmm. So I got hired back to MMEC to be a Miltech, what was I called, a business, or probably a manufacturing defense manufacturing engineer.
Okay.
And I was the first full-time employee at Miltech.
Wow.
The guy that is the boss or the director and was then, he was just at halftime right then. So I did that for 6 years, traveling all over the country.
And what were you doing? Like, what was that job?
Consulting with DOD. So, a lot of times it would be things like, we have a company in Ohio that's providing us this very critical little part that we need for this. And they can't seem to deliver to us on time, and their quality is bad. Go fix it. So that would be my job. Or to do studies. I remember I being asked to come up with find every U.S. gun manufacturer that makes an AK-47 knockoff, and then go evaluate every one of those companies and come back to us with a report on which one's the best.
And then what did they do with that information?
You never knew with DOD.
Okay.
So
they're just like, go forth and do.
Yeah.
Don't ask questions.
Well, yeah, and then there was no feedback afterwards.
Oh, okay.
So sometimes it would be, design us a new backpack. Okay, and so you do that for them, and they'd seem very happy, but you never got feedback on, did it go into production? Did it go into the warfighter's hands? Whatever happened. Or a lot of life-saving things, special bandages that would stop bleeding and so forth, but we never could. So there was very little feedback.
But you're like out meeting with these manufacturers and.
But mostly with DOD.
Okay.
Yeah. So flying out of Kalispell usually on Monday morning, coming back on Friday.
Wow.
Going to the East Coast. I spent most of my time with the Marine Corps and SOCOM, Special Ops. So Marine Corps was mostly in Virginia, Quantico, and SOCOM was mostly in Florida. So
East Coast.
So
that's a lot. 6 years on the road. I mean, on a plane.
Yeah, I had nice traveler status.
Yeah, I bet you did. Upgrade.
Yeah, but just as soon as you quit traveling like that, they quickly reduce your status and send you to the back of the plane again.
You're back to the back in peasant seating, as I like to call it.
Yeah, so that whole time, Miltech was part of MMEC.
Okay.
Then Miltech and Montana State University decided to split Miltech off and make it its own organization.
But MSU still like the.
Oh yeah.
Yep. So it's MS for those listening, and then Miltech is under MSU.
Yeah, but at the time, Miltech was under MMEC.
Okay.
And we had the same boss and we had the same staff meetings. And
yeah.
So that split off, and then MMEC's director retired, and so I got the job as the director and had to move from the Flathead to Bozeman. So I moved in 14.
Wow.
So I've been the director there since 14.
Wow. That's a big, that's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And what's that role been like? Because you guys have like a great team across the state. So tell us about being a director and your team that you have now.
Yeah, so it's a great team. Couldn't ask for better employees. We tend to draw or attract some very qualified individuals. We've had a lot of we've been around for 29 years.
The 30th party coming soon?
Yes.
Okay, great.
We've seen a lot of people that have left MMEC, and then they want to come back. And I was one of those.
You were one of those?
Yeah, and it really comes down to the fact that they enjoy the freedom and they enjoy the variety. So we don't manage them to the point where I need to know where you're going to be on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Just bring in these results, make sure the clients are happy, make sure and we survey every one of our clients after a project to find out how much did your sales go up, how many jobs did you add, how much money did you save, and how much money did you avoid spending. And those numbers get reported to our federal funder every quarter, and if those aren't in line, then they take corrective action on us. And there's a center like MMEC in every state and Puerto Rico.
Wow.
And MMEC consistently scores in the top 10 in the nation.
Because of your leadership.
Well, no, because of
And
the
the team.
great staff.
Yeah, but I think it's like a good team, great team, good leader.
Yeah. So the staff tends to be maybe an engineering undergrad degree, an MBA, and 20 to 30 years of running manufacturing facilities. And then they kind of want to get out of the rat race or quit climbing the corporate ladder.
Yeah.
So when we have turnover, it tends to be because retirement.
Which is, you don't see that very often.
And then when we do hire younger folks, the reason they end up leaving is because their client loves them so much that they steal them from us.
Dang it, I hate when that happens.
Yeah, but we consider that a success. We've got a Montana company that's benefiting from one of our former employees, and probably will bring us in to help occasionally.
Oh yeah. And so your team, I assume, like they're all, wherever they're based, they kind of serve a region.
That's right.
And then specifically, just for those listening that maybe are like, oh, I didn't know they like MMEC, like what specific services are you providing them? So we talked about like lean manufacturing and other things.
Well, I have a list.
Yeah.
And it has 174 items.
Wow. Okay. So we're not going to list. Yeah,
I
that's
don't
a
think you
lot.
want me to list them.
No, but that's a lot of services.
Yeah.
So it's really to help companies.
Any manufacturing company. We can help them with just about anything that they need.
Wow.
So rather than go to a client with our Chinese menu of 174
I need
services.
135 today.
Yeah.
You know?
Could you just pick one and we'll begin work? We would rather go into a client and say, tell us what's really bothering you. And they'll tell us something that's bothering them. My on-time delivery is bad. My client's mad at me for quality, something.
Yeah.
And then we propose a solution. And if they choose to use us, we proceed forward, and then we survey them when we're done. And they tell us how much money they saved or how many jobs they added.
And are these services, what is the cost to businesses?
Well, so our federal grant that we get requires a 2-to-1 match. So the state of Montana gives us some money for that match, and then we are required by the grant to charge our clients. So our fees tend to be about 50% less than they would pay on the open market. And we don't get any credit if we work with companies that have more than 500 employees. That's the definition of small manufacturing, is less than 500. In Montana right now, I think we just have one.
And what one's that?
I think it's Applied Materials. I think is at 600 now.
Wow, which is awesome for them.
Yeah, and your refineries and buildings are not over 500.
No, they're not.
No. So.
No, and we have 3 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, PAR, P66, and CHS. Yeah. Huh. Which they are. It is funny. I don't think everyone always realizes that those are sometimes they're technically manufacturing.
Yeah, they are.
They're like, oh, they're a refinery, and technically they're a manufacturing company.
Speaking of manufacturing, the definition is taking something physical and increasing the value of it. So we're sitting in a hotel right now. I bet you can't see if you can find something in this room that wasn't manufactured.
Even these little mics, these headsets.
So even bottled water is manufacturing. Logging is manufacturing, because you start off with a tree that's worth so much. If you cut it down and cut it 40 feet, take the limbs off, it's worth more. That's manufacturing. The 2 odd things I always think that are not, software is not considered manufacturing.
Interesting.
It's not physical. Can't pick it up, touch it.
Yeah.
And construction is not considered manufacturing unless it's a pre-manufactured home.
But I mean, everything they use is manufactured, right, to get it to where it is. So what is from your perspective, you've been in it for a really long time, what is the manufacturing scene in the state of Montana? So
we do a report once a year, and we're about ready to release our new report. We pay University of Montana's Bureau of Business and Economic Research.
BBER.
Yes, to help us out. And they also analyze our services and tell us if they calculate an ROI to the Montana taxpayer for us. But right now, we're just seeing a little bit of a holding pattern in manufacturing. Manufacturing in Montana since COVID has grown significantly. We think it has a lot to do with companies wanting to get out of wherever they were and moving their companies to Montana. We're seeing good growth in photonics. Even though we've got some setbacks with a couple of our sawmills shut down, we're still compared nationally, we're still way up. But we are seeing that we've kind of leveled a little bit. There's not as much growth going on right now. There's some trepidation with the manufacturers right now on the tariff situation. If they're going to put in a new production line, usually the payback on that can be 5-6 years, if not longer. And so, they're worried about, will this tariff be in place or not in place by the time I pay this off? And then I'm stuck. And if it isn't, then I'm stuck in the middle. So, seeing some of that, but we're still seeing quite a bit of people investing in the automation to help them with their labor situation.
Because I think of when we talked about it, I don't know, last time I saw you, but even like a Quad 5 in Rygate.
Yeah.
I mean, they're pretty remote, right? So workforce is a challenge because they're in a town of 200 out of town, and then they're shipping blood and plasma. Look them up if you're wondering what they are. I'll have them on the podcast at some point, but internationally sometimes. Yeah,
and we have one of my board members, Kyle Copeland, took a machine shop out of Bozeman and he moved it to Broadus.
Oh, interesting.
Ever been there?
Yeah, just a few times. Broadus Hawks. We played them sometimes.
And so he's got severe workforce challenges.
Yeah.
Just the fact that there's not enough people. And so he is highly automated.
Yeah.
Because he has to be. I know, I'm hearing that Vacom in Lewistown is struggling to find their workforce.
Yeah.
So again, we go back to, what can you do? Well, you can automate some of it.
Yep. So. And their facility's cool. I mean, what they're doing, but I know they have growth plans too, but it's just very niche work.
Yeah.
A little over my head. A lot of cleaning things.
In fact, in Kalispell, I think the Applied Materials with their growth has convinced a lot of teachers to leave teaching and join the manufacturing workforce. And that's put the education system in Kalispell in a little bit of turmoil.
Yeah.
So.
And I think, from what I've learned, because I don't know a lot, but just even, like I said, touring some of them, or Spica in Lewistown too. I mean, and we have some cool ones in Billings. I love Travis with Atomic, and he flies super under the radar. But I mean, they're doing these really cool projects for big companies across the U.S. Some of them are doing big global, Woods Power Grip is a great example.
Yeah.
They ship internationally.
And Woods Power Grip
out of Laurel, Montana.
Yeah, and Woods Power Grip is the great Montana story, because historically in Montana, our manufacturing was either a big metal foundry or big sawmills, and Woods is almost like what you'd see back east. They're the only multi-generational, well, there's a couple others in Montana, but they're on the third generation in that company, and I think they're about ready to go to 4.
They are.
So that is amazing, and they started out in Wolf Point, Montana, and moved to Laurel, and that was workforce issues too that caused them to move.
And just being closer to interstate and transit. And we had Brian on the podcast, so if anyone's wondering, and Brian Wood, but he talks about his grandpa coming back from war, starting this company. He was just seeing a problem, needing it to have it fixed. Then the son, and now Brian and his brother and other family members, and then Brian's kids are in it. So they're just and I think that's interesting too from a succession standpoint, where it is all family over all of these generations, and it hasn't sold or something. Yeah, so
looking at manufacturing in Montana right now, there has always been a great potential for value-added ag. Now that's manufacturing too. I gave up trying to correct everybody on that. But that's food, beverage, cattle feed. So when you think about Montana, we produce massive amounts of commodity.
Yeah.
Beef, wool, grains.
Hemp.
And we don't process much of it. And and why don't we process much of it? Because obviously the shipping costs for us would be very small, comparatively to get the grain because it's grown right there. The problem is we don't have that many consumers in this state.
No, a million.
So,
Ish.
yeah. So if even when we do process it in Montana, we're gonna have to ship it out
Yep.
for most of the consumers.
Even like
So-
an energy thing too,
Yeah.
which is like a different conversation for a different day. But I think energy too, we pump a lot of that out.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and our forest products, there's a lot of potential there within Montana. The markets make it very difficult right now.
Yeah.
And probably policy on U.S. Forest Service land. Another opportunity we have in Montana, too, is processing more of our mining ore, further processing it. So like we used to do, instead of just shipping out raw copper, let's make something out of the copper.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah. So who are some of the people like in the state that you guys partner with, like a lot, like community or statewide entities, organizations that you're with manufacturers, right? But
Yeah.
are there other,
We actually keep a list that's
also, yeah.
very long
Uh-huh.
as well. So we partner with anybody that's in economic development.
Hence, we're at a META conference.
Exactly. We partner with all the educational institutes, federal groups like EDA, all the state agencies, Montana Department of Labor, Montana Department of Ag, Montana Department of Commerce, DEQ. So we always look at partners as is there any partner out there that we think could help a manufacturing company in some way? Then we want to partner with them.
Yeah.
We work very hard, being somewhat of a public group, that we do not want to compete with other agencies. For instance, SBDC, funded from SBA. They help all small companies, but their model's different. They cannot charge for their services. So we can help a company write a business plan, but they're going to have to pay us.
Yeah.
So we make sure we partner with SBDC so that when we have a client that needs a new business plan, we basically tell them, well, we can do it for X amount of dollars, or my pal sitting next to me here from SBDC can do it for free.
And then you can come over.
Which one do you choose?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they can come over and then work with you on the stuff they actually need. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, Patty, this has been a lot of fun to have you on. I have a few rapid fire questions to ask you before we wrap. So my first one for you is, what is some of the best advice you've ever received?
Oh, the first one that came to mind was one of my bosses dropped me off at El Paso, Texas to run that facility, and I asked for any final advice for me. And he said, 4 words: don't F it up.
Okay, I really like that. Good.
Yeah.
Got it.
And the other one I think I already mentioned, was the person that told me he's not going to promote me until I can prove I'm not needed.
I think that's good advice. Yeah, prove that you're not. So then I think that's really good. My next question is, what excites you about the future of manufacturing in Montana?
I just think it has so much potential. It provides great jobs. Manufacturing job in Montana, according to BBER, produces another 2.63 jobs in the economy.
Whoa.
So figure if we went out to middle eastern Montana and built a plant, eventually we're going to have a store there.
Yep.
Eventually we're going to have a doctor's office, a lawyer's office. That's where it generates more and more jobs.
And more entrepreneurship and different things. Yeah. Kind of like back in the day when the rail came through, right?
Yep.
Then towns just boomed around them. My last question for you, and this is just a little bit broader because we are at an economic development conference. What excites you the most about the future of economic development in Montana?
Excites me. I think the fact that the percent of our GDP is starting to even out a little bit, comparing tourism to manufacturing to retail to ag, where not all of our eggs are in one basket. The diversification of our GDP in the state is looking good. And of course, I also wonder about possibility of increasing manufacturing even further. Indiana, I think, is the highest in the nation. Something like 70% of their GDP is manufacturing.
Oh, yeah. But Montana is just with our variety of industries. I think that's great. So thank you for coming on. If people want to learn more about MMEC or get connected with you and your team, where can they learn more?
Well, we have a website. It's www.montana, spelled out, .edu/MMEC.
Cool.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thanks, Patty. This has been fun.
Well, thank you, Marcel.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for listening to The Vault. Connect with us on Facebook at The Vault at 201 North Broadway or Instagram at TheVault_201. Or check us out on our website, thevault@201.com, where you can subscribe to our weekly newsletter. See you next time.